Hello, everyone. Say hi. Please say hi when you come on in. Welcome to today's demo. Uh, wasn't there great ones yesterday? There was already some great demos and wonderful sales. You've got good choices going on all throughout the weekend. I checked my, I checked my volume and lighting earlier, and I all of a sudden my the page went blank that I was on, and it said can't be found. And so I really want someone to say hi. Let me know that you're there. Let me know that this is broadcasting and doing what it's supposed to do, because the technology has been wonky the last couple times, and I I really don't know because I can't find my comments, and it's just one of those things, I guess, until I get that figured out. Well, when I was planning for this demo, I ran through a couple different thoughts and choices in my mind, and then I decided to go look at my stash of surfaces and say what would work. And I dug through. Hold a sec, I'm missing something. Oops. Sorry about that. Few seconds of silence. I had set something down when I was walking over here, and I left it over on the counter. Oops. And now I'm back. I'm ready. I have, was telling you, I was digging through my stash. This is, what if I just went by what I had? Tried to design something off a surface, and I had different surfaces, and I tried a couple different surfaces and looked at them. Decided on this one. You can see it has a little slats in there, and I ended up really liking this piece, and I go, well, it's the only one I have. So I went looking more in my surfaces so I can find out what else I could demo on. And I'm pretty sure I picked this up from another D-Stash group, and so there's another oval. This is very, very doable. And it's bigger, so maybe you can see a little easier than something that is so small. And I have demoed on a couple small things the last several times. So today I'm going on a little bigger piece. And I'm trying to figure out where I can set this. So it's not, I don't have a lot of room, so it's just going to be a little off, and I'll bring it back on camera. And as you can see, this is my prep. I says, took chalk, and I says, here's my guidelines. I'm going to put this here and that there. And so we're working on freehanding today. Finding a surface that you want to use from your stash and seeing if the project's going to work on it. And I'm working with several different techniques today. I'm using some stamp, and then I had to think about it if I was going to add more other elements. Do I want to add any bigger? I went to find a dimensional bee, and I couldn't find it, so I stuck with this. We'll work with the stamp bee also, because I thought for sure I could. When you know where something is, and then you go to find it. Do you ever do that? You can't find it when you know where it is, but it's just gone. And that's what happened to me when I was looking for dimensional bees, thinking, wouldn't it be fun to add dimensional bees to the piece also? And then, because I got a little bit larger, a little dilemma. Do I add more bees, or do I go ahead and get the Lupin tall? So we will see as we go if I make adjustments, which I need to tell you how this came about too. But let me get started. I'm working with a stamp that I have had, and it's a really nice stamp. It has just a little bit of a, it's the beehive, and it has little other textures in it. And I'm working with espresso to start with. I put out just a little bit of the paint, but I also don't want to pick up. I don't know, my palette's off right now. I don't want to pick up, so I put a little dollop of paint, but then you see I've got my paint palette, and you see I've got a couple drops of water on that, on my little palette knife there, and I'm thinning the paint just a touch with just a couple drops of water. I don't want it too inky. I just want it to thin out just a little bit. And like I said, you can't see my palette. So I didn't plan this, not to show you a palette today. Oops. Well, I spread it out just a little bit. And then I'm going from the old dauber sponge, tapping through all that, through the espresso, and making sure I don't have very much. I do not want very much paint on, I don't want too much paint on the dauber. I want this to be softer and not too much. And let's see if I can work this without hitting that. Right now I'm working with the espresso, and I'm moving around the outer edge, trying to use up as much of that paint that's in here without reloading. I want it to go ahead and fade to the bottom, and you can see I really ran out in the bottom here. Not a problem to me. And I'm going to just off to the side. I'll show you here in a minute, but I need to get that espresso off without getting this all wet. I need just enough off because I'll be moving over. Now this is drying really fast for me. That is good. I'm moving over to salted caramel. Working the same step. I added just 1 or 2 drops of water off my palette knife, and I'm spreading the paint out. So I'm picking up from a thin pile of paint. I want that to be a definitely thinner pile of paint. Loading one of my sponge daubers and using the espresso, using the salted caramel, same as I did with the espresso just earlier. Just the espresso was only on the outside edge, but the salted caramel, I'm going to keep moving. That's that one. I got a hole in that one. You can see a hole right there. But with the salted caramel, I'm going more across the board. I still don't like that hole. Maybe I can get a little bit on the angle there because it didn't go. And let's go a little bit more so I can get some more in this lower area. I better not go too much. It's starting to get messy. I'm trying to be tricky. I don't want that hole to stay there. So I'm going to check the corner of my stamp because I have a little drip looking here. So I'm going to be careful and try to keep it up on just the edge, and it did work. Let me see, I want that one out. So I worked the same stamp with the espresso on the outside edge. Then I came back with salted caramel and worked salted caramel throughout. Now what I've done off to the side here is because I don't have time to stop and clean. I do not let paint sit here. But I have the moist paper towel right now off to the side, and it does have some cleanser in there, and I have it set in wait. So I want to, so that'll be easier to clean because I've set them in something. Now let me give this a quick little heat up to get a little extra dry so I can move on to the next step. And I cannot tell if I have comments. I'm not sure why the comments don't come up for me. And so I'll get back to them afterwards. Let me check that. So now I am giving a little bit of a distress sanding over what I did. Now I just kind of want to get that a little extra. Just a little, not too much. That's working out real well for me. All right. I need to move that one. I have to switch daubers. I accidentally put my other dauber into the water before I was ready. And so I'm going to grab another dauber, and I'm going back into the espresso and tapping the espresso onto the bee stamp and working that bee. Now if I thought that was too bright, I'll just touch it real quick on the corner of my hand. If I was too dark, it wasn't bright, it was dark, a little darker. And because I've already distressed the others, I didn't want it to get too dark. And I think I'm going to put this one, let's have this one coming down. And I'm going to tap that down just a little bit to soften that. And that gives me time to put this over into my little wet tray on the side. Now, does anybody know why I chose the lupin? I chose the mountain lupin flower to go with the bumble. Sorry, I'm sitting here scanning. Where did I put one of my paintbrushes? And I will shift over to there. So this piece came about. I need to tell you how this piece came about. It actually was painted last night and just pulled together last night. And I had several pieces that I was like, okay, let's demo this. Well, And have you ever had that? This sounds good, but I just don't know if I want to do it. Maybe this one does. And then you keep changing, then this one sounds good. And pretty soon I was changing my mind too much and okay, this doesn't do, just make a decision. Well, right about that time, well, my granddaughter, she sent me a message. She says, how you doing? I says, well, I'm struggling. Tomorrow I'm doing a demo, and right now I can't make a decision. I'm just keep changing my mind. And so she gets back to me. She goes, "Do you want some input? Do you want me to give you some ideas?" And I said, "Oh, okay, sure. Give me some ideas." Guess what she had as her idea? She said, "Do the bee." And I giggled. I says, "You know what? Yes." And a bee would be really fun. And a bee we're waiting for spring to come. My daffodils are just in their bud stage, and the pollinators are just barely getting awake from all this. And I don't know, in your winter area, are you still covered in some frost and snow in some areas? What I did is I picked up a little bit of espresso and some red spice, and I put the stems in. And they're just in. They're not real even. I tried to just keep them reasonably even. This one got a little bit wide up in there, but if you look behind, let me move some of the chalk. It's a little uneven, and it's not something to stress over. It's transparent. Doesn't matter because this is a guideline of where the lupin petals go. And so I was talking, we were chatting back and forth with my granddaughter. I says, well, what about this? What about that? And so this piece is designed in collaboration with my granddaughter Riley. We just had a fun time, and she'd ask for picture updates. Okay, what are you doing now? How's it coming? And so I would send her updates. Now I'm working on the lupin petals. I'm going to do a big, let's try to do a big one. So I have the stem, and I've loaded, but I'm making sure I don't have too much paint. I don't want too much paint in my brush. I have it loaded, but it's not, it doesn't have any extra loads. But I want to make a loop. It has got to, the movement is pull down but sweep in. And so if you think of some of those teardrop strokes that we have, for those of you who have learned and worked with strokes, this is a very loose drop, and this is the angle that I want. I want that to arch and pull into the stem, and once I get a rhythm going, oops, that one needs to get a little bit bigger. It moves right along. Now, back to my question I asked a little bit ago. Why do you think I picked and chose the mountain lupin to work with this project? I'm trying to get a little bit wider as I go down. And the pattern of lupins is they seem to spiral out from their stem. And so I want definitely have some background showing right on through. And well, maybe I might not do this, so I don't want to watch my time, but let me get down the line with, oops, that one got big fast, huh? Oop, that'll work. I'll work with it. And some of the lupins are pink and some have more blue to them, and so this one I went with the purple and some blue because we drive into the mountains and I see beautiful purple mountain lupins all over. And let me get wide, a little bit wider on the base here, just a little bit. And then I can move on, because I'm going to be able to complete a lot of this, but I don't need to keep repeating the lupin. You have seen that. And oh boy, these bottom ones got big. I could see I got faster. All right. Well, we'll just let the lupins work just like that. And I'm watching how it dries. I might need to give that a little persuasion to dry. And so for the tip of the lupin, I'm going to switch to some margarita. And I'm going to give this a little shot of heat. Get that working to dry a little faster for me. So far, I put this lupin in with a filbert number 6. I'm dropping down to a number 2. And for the top. And the top of the lupin, the buds that haven't opened, the very tip, I'm working with some margarita, and they're very small, short buds. They're not really, they're very tight and they're very closed. Let's get that in there. And now, one small adjustment. I think I'm going to do a little touch. I picked up just a touch of New Leaf, and I'm going to tap a little bit of that color. I had margarita already in my brush, and I picked up a little bit of New Leaf and didn't wash my brush at all. I just tapped into them and brush mixed it. And where I see a few little openings on the stem, I'm going to throw just a little bit of this green color in there to give just a little more interest into the stem. See, just a few spots. Wrong brush. And I need, where's my white? I'm going to pull out some warm white. And I'm switching brushes right now. Oops, wait a minute. I don't want to do the white. I don't want to do the highlight first. Oh, let me back up. Back up. Back up. I need to back up just a touch. I jumped ahead. I'm going into the shade color, which is Midnight Blue. Have you ever worked with Midnight Blue? It is so beautiful. But it's also a color that likes the spotlight and wants to take over. So you want to work with Midnight Blue and a little bit at a time. Don't overdo your Midnight Blue unless you're really working in a big space and you like that. But I want to add little, I had too much water in my brush. I want to add enough, just a little shade at the base of the petal. Picking up a little bit of Midnight Blue as I go along. Let me see if I can get that. I need to rinse my brush. I have the wrong balance. I felt it was wrong, and so I rinsed out my brush real quick. I didn't rinse it big, but it just felt like the balance of an water to my paint was wrong, and so I just did a quick check. Now, as I'm going back into my Midnight Blue, I'm picking up a tiny touch of this base color that I have, which is the Purple Rain, and even though I jumped this part, I started with the deep Midnight Blue, or the, excuse me, not deep, just straight Midnight Blue, and then as I go up, as I'm coming up, I'm brush mixing off to the side a little bit of that Purple Rain into the Midnight Blue that I started with, and so that as I come up, the Midnight Blue is not as strong. I'm getting just a little different. And some of I did think, oh, what if I came in with a little bright pop of pink in some spots? I might try that on one of these. There we go. I'm going to come down. And as you look, if you see closely, I went just one time. I didn't try to make sure that all the strokes were real opaque. I wanted them in there, but I wanted that translucent in different, some areas a little more opaque and some just more open. And so you stick with that completely. I'm not concerned about it being, real solid. I want that openness, because petals, they catch shadows and lights on each other. But now, excuse me, I am ready for the highlight. And so I am going over to the warm white, and I'm making sure I'm not picking up too much paint. I don't want very much paint at all. I don't want to start with too much paint and have a blob or anything. I don't want that. I'm going to churn. I want to come in and add highlight to the tip of the petal. So do you have mountain lupins in your area? Do you go up, see, or drive along and see them just along the hillsides? Or you're all in the city? Or you have to go out into the mountains and find them? And I'm adding that highlight. I'm being a little more careful. I don't know. I'm paying attention a little bit. Well, no, I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. That's not even the right word. Okay, I am. Have you noticed I'm going a little more carefully? Refined? My words are eluding me today. What's happening? And when I was putting in the strokes, I was just moving straight along. It was easy to put them in. I know that some of them might be a little wonky, but it's okay because I was coming back with my shade and my highlight, and that shade and highlight is going to refine those petals, and so I wasn't concerned about when I put that first base on. But now that I'm coming in with and putting the light on the tip of the petals, I'm definitely taking my time and making sure that I am careful placing where that light is going. And make it okay. I felt my brush change. I have a few more to get the highlights on because I want to show one full now kind of lost down on the bottom. There we go. I want to make sure I have one full set. Now I can move down to a smaller brush, but I'm also doing just small touches. I can move to a small brush, but I'm using the tip of my small angle right now and just hitting the tip. I'm using the tip of my brush just to hit the highlight on the little new top tip buds. And when you look at the base, this is where I started with. This is the Purple Rain, but then by adding the midnight blue and then the light, the white. Even the white doesn't look really big white. It's not bold. It's just because it's a little more transparent. That purple is showing through some of that white, and it looks lavender. I want to switch. I'm going to switch brushes. I need to move to a really large brush right now, and not that color. Oops. I am getting raw sienna up. I'm using a 3/4 wide right now. I'm going around the outside edge and shading around the whole outside edge with raw sienna. And because I'm using the it's a 3/4, right? I can't see the thing. I'm using a 3/4 brush because I want the moisture in the rest of the brush to help draw that paint out and fade out. And if a section like this section doesn't look like it's fading out very well to me, I would definitely stop long enough just to catch a little bit of that paint and pull it out and tidy it up with a mop. And that helps to soften that out and blend it. Now I'm going right over the lupin. I'm moving right along. I'm not skipping that bottom section where I've painted. I'm making sure it's getting tucked in by putting that raw sienna right over it. Getting up and around. Need to, oops, don't want to put my finger in my wet paint up here. And I have added that raw sienna. See how it's starting to frame the picture? Let me get that over. If you've commented, I am sorry. I still cannot see any comments, and I will definitely come back later and check on that. Oops, wrong brush. Let me see which one I'm working with. Let me check back my notes. Make sure I'm not forgetting anything. I don't want to forget anything. Oh, I haven't got the leaves in. Okay, let me back up to the leaf. I don't want to forget the leaf. All right. And the leaves, they just flare out also. The same as the lupin blossoms, they just fan out from the stem. When you look at the lupin leaves, they just fan right out. I'm working with New Leaf and the small number 2 filbert. And the leaves come out in a, like I said, in a fan. So I'm pulling those. Let's see, let's tuck that one back there too. And because it's disappearing, I'm going to put that in there. And I would have room just off to the side here to put the another leaf. Let's get a little point to that. And go flaring out. And it's going to, because it's on the edge of the board, I might, I can lose that one because I want that tucked behind. But this one, I still want to act as if I'm, that one got wonky. Let me pull from the center and over. I never checked to see if there was a specific number. There we go. That's a happy leaf. And I'm going to pull a little bit of margarita into the center, just to give it a little bit of texture, and a little bit of pulling it together in the middle. And when I work this third mountain lupin, I would go right. I will pull the petals right over the leaves so that it puts the leaves behind, and I won't let the leaves sit up front on this one. And then I'm going to let that leaf dry a little bit, and then I'm going to go up and work on the bee. But like I said, I was showing you, what if you had different sizes and you wanted to work on different surfaces? This is the piece that you can adapt into different pieces or different sizes of surfaces. I dropped off the leaves on this one. The leaves, they aren't showing on this one. I would get the bee painted right in here, and it's going to hang up real nice. I found this piece. This is from the wood pile on this one, and it came with the beads already. And then what if I I pulled this out of my stash also. I had the banner, and again, I can not put as many, make it just a little bit smaller. It's going to fit in here, and then the whole banner up here, I can, this is a place where I could add wording, anything that would, just, buzz along. But you could come up with words that you could attach here. And so there's another thought. If you were to put this design on another surface that isn't the same as mine. We're going to move to the bee next. I'm going to pull out my black. Now, let's see, I'm a little concerned getting, I have a general idea where I'm going to be. My chalk is getting a little bit faded. And it's like I feel the pressure. How can I make this shape look right all of a sudden when I'm just freehanding? I'm feeling the pressure. I get a little wonky, or you try to fix the shape. It's, I want it generally round, but you go and try to fix the shape, and it gets a little wonky off to one side. I'm feeling it. Okay, I've got the head in. I think that's going to work. And I'm going to switch back to my number 2 filbert. Pick up some golden yellow. And if you missed the earlier, I designed this with my granddaughter just last night as we were talking and saying what to add, what to leave out, what to try. And so I just definitely want to give a shout out to Riley for being another artist out there helping me and giving me some ideas, and we worked together to come up with this. And so I'm very happy to share this with you. She's excited also. I have picked up golden yellow. I'm working with my number 2 filbert. And pulling. Keep that. I forgot how many stripes. Well, 2 stripes, 3 stripes. I've seen bumbles that are big bumblebees that are a couple of stripes, and then some that are just all solid. They just have a little bit of white on them. So some of the bumblebees. And pull up this side a little bit. I think I'd like a bigger, just a little bigger body on there. Now I'm gonna give it a minute to dry. Well, maybe 10 seconds. Maybe not a whole minute. Maybe if I fan it real quick off to the side, it'll dry faster for me. I got rid of the yellow because I need the yellow out of my paintbrush. If I picked up black, I would end up with green, and I don't want green bumblebee. Okay, that's look like it's working. Now I'm picking up the black. And then pulling in, and I have the brush slightly on an angle so it's not real wide, but I'm now pulling in the black stripe. And it's just going, it's going. That's, I feel like that needs to adjust a little. Get those stripes in, but I'll black and yellow. Yes, we do love our pollinators in our area. We definitely encourage a lot of flower blooming so that we can have very happy pollinators. I'm going to go back and see if I can darken up some of my black. As it dries, it's getting a little transparent to me. And let's just get those a little darker. Oops, what did I do? Yep, wasn't working, and I just... Okay, I'm going to pause. Let's push that black out of there. Yeah, I got a little distracted. You know, I shouldn't look out the window real quick because something moved. And I was like, nope, don't look. All right, don't look out the window. Let's get the black out of the brush. And then I can tidy up and get that yellow pulled back in. I'm going back with using the golden yellow, pulling in some stripe, reinforcing the yellow in the stripes here. I'm working all that area. Let me get those stripes back in the right order. What brush do I want? I think I want to switch brushes. I am picking up a little bit of salted caramel. I think I'm going to hit a little bit of heat on this. I want this to be dry. I don't want to smear my yellow into the black. So I want to make sure I want to have that yellow dry. Okay, that looks like it's going to work. I'm working with a little bit of salted caramel in the side loader brush, and I am putting that shade right under the neck. And tapping that along the lower side of the body. I think I need... Okay, now I'm moving over to the warm white. I couldn't find my warm white for a minute. Excuse me. Got a little bit too much water in there, I think. I'm working with a side loaded brush and starting just down inside the edge of the black stripe, just going to go up with that side loader brush, work that around the corner and back in, and you can see how much I'm going to walk this down just a little bit into that. You see how much I left open? Actually, I don't like. I want to push that in just a little bit more. I don't like how wide I was at the base, so I'm going to push it in. Let me come back. And I'm going to start my second one up and then try to pull it back into a real narrow spot right as it meets the first one that I put in. And it's definitely transparent. I hope you can see that. It's very transparent. To change, where's my small liner? Which one do I want? I like to use my really small liner. There we go. That's the better one. They're really good. I just want to check to see which one's going to be fine tipped for me. So I'm picking up a tiny bit of black, mixing it with a little bit of white. Just, you can grab a gray, but it's right here, so I just did a quick brush mix. And I want to thin that down so it's definitely a bit inky and very transparent. And then pull out. Even there, that still seems a little bright to me, or a little dark to me. I want it transparent. So I'm going to pull some of those trying to keep it light, trying to keep it not too dark, and still make it look like it fits, right? I don't want it to look like a leaf. You know how they have, oops, he's upside down. So you can see I've just pulled those out and then crossed in some of them, and you want that little bit to get in there, but I want to be transparent, so it's a little bit dark at first. Now that's drying pretty quick, so that's good. Now I'm coming back and I'm repeating what I did for the wing. Have a side-loaded brush. I'm pulling right along the outer edge of the wing shape, and I'm going right over those little veins in the wing. I'm going to tuck them together right at the end. And so now for that second layer of white going over, that helps to set those in just a little bit more. Now going into the black. I'm going to turn this. I need to turn this. Let's pull out a little antenna there. Got a little off on the end there. And, oh, excuse me. Now, I'm going to try to get those eyes in. You know, when you're working with small things, you need small spots. Always try to do that when your eyes, I always try to do it when my eyes are refreshed and feeling okay. You know, when to get tired eyes. Trying to make small areas, they don't work very well. I have too much paint in my brush. I'm going to make some little tiny eyebrows. Right now, isn't that funny? This bee's starting to look a little bit surprised. Okay. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of a pupil. Let's see if I can get into that small spot without, it's so small, but you need a little bit. You need that little tiny indicate that there's a pupil because of, and it's very hard to see, I think, on the camera, or right now through my camera, but it's there, it's working. It's definitely looking a little funny, a little surprised. Each one comes out a little different, right? Now I moved back to my, one of my, I have a 3/8. I moved back to the flat, well, it's an angle. And I have side load into raw sienna. Now I'm going to play in the background. And I'm going to be moving. So I'm trying to be soft. I don't want to be real bold and opaque with the paint I have right now. I'm pitter-patting and walking around this lupin, and I'm walking out some of that paint to soften it out just a little bit more out away from the lupin. And I'm giving it just a real soft sweep. I'm just touching the surface just real softly so that that paint moves just a little bit, but I'm not picking it up. So I come in, let me come up into a bigger area, and then I'm moving very softly, barely touching it, so the paint just softens out. And I'm going to check that first. I'm going to start low because I think it's too much paint in my brush. There we go. And I'm just giving the pit-a-pat, tucking a little bit up in close near the lupin petals. Then as I get out to some of the bigger area, I'm going to sweep over back and forth, crisscross, and soften. I want to soften that paint out so it's not real dark. Now, of course, my lupin's not here right now, but also I'm just going to kind of sweep a little bit through there fast. And I don't want too much paint on the brush, but now I want to come up around behind the bee, because I still want to get some of that color back here. Let's see, that was a little bit dark. And I'm going right around. I'm going to walk that out just a bit more to soften that. Going right around, help that bee to stand out just a little bit more in the picture. And even with this bigger surface, the one that I played with on first to get the design figured out, and then I have room to add some wording. I can add something up at the top or hang, come down just a little bit. And so I have room to add some wording. I'm going to shift my brush again. And look. I'm going back to espresso. And I'm going to reinforce the outer edge with espresso. Get the little bit darker on the outer edge. And I work that all the way around. Again, I'm going to pull the paint right over the bottom with the lupin and its leaves, and all the way around, so I have just a nicer dark edge building up. And if I needed to, I would watch and mop any spots that felt like it didn't blend out right for me. I think it's going to hold out. And then I feel like I have a few spots that I can add just some little bit more of the raw sienna and give a little bit more of some. It's very soft, but it's really, your eye notices those little things. I don't know. It's a bee needs some blush. Now, I've worked this, and I'd like to know if you'd like to try, I'd like to see you try this. Find a surface and come back and watch the video. Go back through this and see what you can do with the surface that you find, and give this a try. And how is my timing? Oh, yay. I'm very good. And Linda is coming up after me, and Carrie unfortunately is under the weather, so she's gonna pass on today and take good care of herself. And I appreciate you all coming in. I have just a little bit of time. I almost finished that lupin. Well, if I could see your comments, I have room for a little bit of words. Show me some ideas of some, what kind of a wording could I fit up in here? I have room. I can do it. And tonight I have a few new things. When I come back from my sale tonight, I am at, okay, what time am I at? I'm not looking at the calendar. Sorry, I'm not looking at the calendar. I even wrote it down on a sticky note, and that sticky note has gotten buried and flopping around here somewhere. And so I'm not clear on my timing. I'm coming up at, I think I may be 8, actually, now that I have a few finished goods and some little, there's some patterns. I have a few little, well, actually, I don't know if my little that I'm thinking is finished. I think I have to go do some finishing work before I say that other one that I was going to say. And just for those of you who came in late, when I'm putting in the lupin petals, this first round, I'm going down with a little arch to them, leaving definitely some space as I get to the bottom. And you can see this is the piece that I worked with my granddaughter on to design. She came up with ideas, and she didn't know what a lupin was at that time. She does know a lot of plants. She's an herbalist. She's working on that, and so she knows a lot of plants, and she knows about bumbles, bees, and such. And then when I came in, I started, you can see how I started on this shape also, which it wouldn't take much. Get that bee in here, and I have different little shapes to add a touch of that bright, yellow. We're all waiting for our, getting ready for our spring, and those that garden, and we're waiting for our pollinators to come in and give their blessing to everything. Okay, I think this is it. I am going to say goodbye. Thank you so much. I'll look back and see if I have comments. And Linda is up next. If you need to refresh your browser, that's what you're going to do before you see Linda. And if you don't see some of them right away, try refresh again. Okay, I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you later tonight for my sale.